So I'm going to be talking about the first two things up here, how to attract prospects, so how to get them to know about your webinar and then to sign up for it and then to actually attend it, and then how to structure your webinar effectively and some of the different ways that you can do that and some of the things that we've seen be effective. I had a call yesterday with a CMO of a division of a Fortune 500 insurance company, and they've got, like 50 divisions and all that kind of stuff, huge, massive, multi-billion-dollar company. And we were talking about, how my company can help him run webinars on an ongoing basis to grow their business and to build their brand and attract more prospects. And I asked them the question, because they're going after other very large companies, very senior level, C-level people. I said, do you think these people that you're trying to go after are actually going to attend one of your webinars? These guys are really busy. Do you think that they're going to be into this? And he said, without a doubt, he knows that if the webinar, if the message resonates with them, if the CEO he's trying to reach won't watch it, he will delegate it down to the person that will. And they see it happen all the time, as long as the topic is something that's relevant and they need to know about. And so the reason I mention that is because I hear from people very often who seem to have webinar fatigue and think that webinars just aren't as effective as they were in the past because it's becoming played out and people are tired of them and such. And conversations like that and the experience that we have in our business and our clients and the stuff I'm going to show you today says that that's just generally not the case. There are people out there that have watched so many webinars and sat behind their computer so long that they feel like that. But I think on the whole, webinars are still a tremendously effective way to market your business, generate leads, and increase sales. And the Marketing Prof study that Bill cited is just another piece of proof about that. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I got into using webinars and how we've become successful with using them and why I should be able to talk about this stuff today. I started working for myself in 2010 as an outsourced CFO for small businesses here in town. And I did, our first webinar was, I did a joint venture webinar with a banker just to do it and try and market my business, and had 20 people sign up. And I think at one point there were 5 attendees. But what happened was that we had an audio meltdown, and so that webinar never happened. So my first attempt at using a webinar was a big failure. And so one of the lessons from that for me was, don't use the cheap free webinar platforms that are enticing. And ever since then, I've used GoToWebinar for everything, and it's really the gold standard. So there's one tip. In 2011, some of my clients that I was doing finance work for started saying, hey, I see some of the things that you're doing on LinkedIn to grow your business. Would you help us do some of those things? And I looked around for somebody to refer them to and couldn't find any competent marketers that really knew what they were doing with LinkedIn. And so I said, sure, I'll help you out. And at the same time, I threw up a new website called linkedselling.com, and I figured maybe there's some other businesses that would be interested in these kinds of services, and it's really exploded since then. Our company's grown from me working out of my house to now I have 8 employees. We have clients all over the world that we run lead generation campaigns for within LinkedIn. Very early on, we were utilizing webinars as our primary source of attracting business all over the world. And what we found was that the majority of the people on those calls actually weren't going to hire us. We would get business from a small percentage of the people, but then there's this whole other 100 people on the webinar or whatever it might be who are more of the do-it-yourselfer crowd. And so that's why we created Linked University, which is our online training program. So between Linked Selling, Linked University, and helping our clients, over the last 2.5 years or so, we've done hundreds of webinars, tens of thousands of people have attended them, and it's been the primary source of new leads and revenue for our business. And actually just about a week ago, we formally launched a new division called Webinarly, which is an outsourced marketing department for your webinars, for people who say, you know what, figuring out all this stuff just isn't in the cards for me, I want some help with it. So that's me. Now what I'm going to talk about today is the stuff that is on really this side of the screen. So I'm going to have to move fast. There's a lot to go through. All right, but that's not to minimize the importance of what happens after the webinar, which is what Tom's going to talk about. All right, because doing the webinar, attracting people to the webinar really is just the start of what hopefully will be a long-term relationship in nurturing prospects and working some of them towards becoming your clients. So here's what we're going to talk about in the first part, which is attracting prospects. So this is all about how to design landing pages so that when you tell somebody, hey, here's a link to go check out to sign up for my webinar, that landing page has to convince them of why they should sign up and be willing to give you their email address and their time. I'm going to talk about some things you can do once they do sign up to help boost attendance, all right, so to get more of those registrants to turn into actual attendees. Organic strategies for promoting your webinars, and some paid strategies as well. So what can you do for free, and then if you have budget for advertising, what can you do there? All right, so with landing pages and with really designing your webinar in the first place, what we always tell people and what I do for my own business is I start first with what is the landing page design and what are the things that we can tell people that we're going to deliver during this training that will get them to sign up at a very high percentage. All right, so basically, what's the concept and what are the things that they can learn that will get people to say, yeah, I want this? And it's those ideas that then form the basis of what the landing page is going to include, and I'll go through some examples of that, but also then what you're going to do during the webinar. So typically, we think about what the landing page is going to be before we even build the PowerPoint of the webinar. So that's just something to think about for yourself. Now, in terms of tools to use, this is important stuff, obviously. I talked about how much I love GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar. But their landing pages are kind of crappy, and they're really plain and boring. And, if you're marketing to, your really close-knit community, you can get away with that, all right? If you start doing things to reach out beyond, your own, tight community, and people that don't already know you and know the value that you bring to the table in webinars, you need to step it up a notch. And one of the tools that we use all the time to do that is a landing page platform called Unbounce. And it's a very simple to use. I don't want to overstate the simplicity of it. But you don't need to be a programmer, and you can create landing pages that look however you want. And it comes out of the box with all sorts of different templates that you can use. And it also integrates with a lot of different things, which I'll talk about in a minute. And this is an example of a landing page template that we use for a lot of webinars that converts really well, much better than the standard GoToWebinar one that you see people use. Another really popular software is Leadpages. Both Leadpages and Unbounce are going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 a month, something like that. And it goes up from there, depending on more features, more traffic and things like that. But it doesn't go up too much more than that. So Leadpages is really, really popular, and it's good for the key benefit Leadpages has over Unbounce is that all of their themes and templates are responsive, so mobile friendly, right out of the chute. Unbounce can't really say that, although they're improving in that area. So that's definitely a key thing Leadpages has over them. But Leadpages is far less customizable than Unbounce. So in certain situations, Leadpages just isn't an option because of that. If you want to do something really specifically and have your own design and things like that, that's where Unbounce really shines, as well as Unbounce's ability to integrate with a lot of other things. Leadpages is good with that too. And so with these platforms, they all tie into GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar. And so that any of the people that sign up through this landing page software, which can be hosted on your domain, will automatically go into the different places you need them to go. And here's something to think about too. With landing pages, you can create just one single landing page, all right, that is going to try to speak to everybody that could potentially be interested in what you do. But probably for most of us, we have some different niches, industries, verticals, types of people that you market to and do business with, right? And so here's an example of something we've seen. And I'm just going to click through all these really quickly and just, you can probably see the moral of the story here, but these are all promoting the same webinar, all right? They're just different landing page variants that we're using in different ad campaigns that target these different types of people, all right? And what happens is that the moral of the story is that when you're marketing when your landing page, when your ads that promote the landing page speak directly to a certain type of person, the click-through rates and then the conversions on the landing pages go way up. Because people say, this isn't some generic LinkedIn webinar trying to cater to everybody. It's specifically for financial advisors. So when financial advisors see that, they're all over it. And so you can see that's a huge improvement in conversions on that landing page. Same with coaches and consultants. All right, so when we use LinkedIn sponsored updates to target business coaches and business consultants, they see this landing page and it converts extremely well. And so these are examples of some conversions from a recent webinar. So the two of them were on the 29th, this one was the 21st, but you can see the improvement in that. So I would challenge you to think about how you can do that in your business.